What is up, everyone? It's Quinn here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going through my top 12 defense rankings for Week 7 of the NFL season. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe, check out all my other positional rankings, running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and tight ends are all posted. Flex rankings will be out tomorrow, but let's dive right into the rankings, and I feel pretty good about my first two tiers. Then the defense position starts to feel a little bit sketchy, but we'll start off in tier 1 here. I'm going to have the Broncos at number 1 going up against the Giants. The Broncos have just been a very strong fantasy defense, averaging the 5th most points per game. The Giants have the lowest implied point total this week, down at 16.75. The Broncos have held their last 3 opponents to 31 total points. Now, the Giants offense did burn me last week. I like the Eagles. I thought they were in a good spot. The Giants, went out, had an awesome game. Jackson Dart looks really good. Cam Scatterbo's an absolute monster. But the Eagles defense was a little bit banged up. I think the Broncos unit is better. And you're still just looking at some of the weapons the Giants have. It is a really rough wide receiver room with no Malik Neighbors. I trust the Broncos. I think they're going to get the better of the Giants here. So they are going to be number 1. Then I have the Patriots going up against the Titans. The Patriots have been a fine defense. This is really a bet against the Titans offense. Defenses going up against the Titans are averaging the most points per game. The Titans are tied for allowing the most sacks. They have lost the 2nd most fumbles, and then they have the 3rd lowest implied point total. Also, just going through organizational shakeup, fired head coach Brian Callahan. I'm not even saying that's going to be some sort of massive negative. It might actually be a net positive. There's just overall a lot of dysfunction there with that team, and I think the Patriots are a nice play. Then I have the Chiefs going up against the Raiders. The Raiders have the 2nd lowest implied point total. Defenses going up against them are scoring the 4th most points per game. Geno Smith is leading the NFL in interceptions. And then the Chiefs defense hasn't been amazing from a fantasy perspective, but they've been fine. And I really like the matchup here against the Raiders. And then the last team in tier 1, it's going to be the Seahawks going up against the Texans. The Seahawks are the number 1 fantasy defense so far this season. They are top 3 in sacks and interceptions, coming off a solid game against the Jaguars. And then the Texans, even coming off the bye week, have an implied point total down at 18.5. That is really rough. This offense is just not scary. The offensive line is really poor. Outside of Nico Collins, none of the weapons have really stepped up. So I do like the Seahawks here to close out tier 1. Now looking at tier 2, I've got 2 teams here. The first one is going to be the Packers going up against the Cardinals. We're not really sure about the status of Kyler Murray or Marvin Harrison Jr. The Cardinals have the 7th lowest implied point total, and then defenses going up against the Cardinals are scoring the 9th most points per game. I will say, from a fantasy perspective, the Packers defense has been a little bit underwhelming, but overall, I still believe in this unit. I do think this could be a nice kind of breakout performance here against the Cardinals. And then the other tier 2 team, it is the Steelers going up against the Bengals. The Steelers are averaging the 6th most points per game on defense. They are top 3 in sacks and fumble recoveries. And then the Bengals offense, I actually thought they looked pretty good against the Packers with Joe Flacco. He did his job, wasn't making any crazy negative plays, was getting the ball to his top weapons with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, but they're still bottom 5 in implied points. We've seen Flacco have some really rough performances, not protect the ball over the last couple of years. So I think the Steelers are a pretty nice play this week. Now in tier 3, I kind of just have a 1-team tier. I think once we get into tier 4, there's a lot of teams that could be in the mix, but for my number 7 defense, I have the Rams going up against the Jaguars. The Rams defense is very good. They're 8th in points per game. They are top 5 in sacks, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. And then the Jaguars offense still isn't really firing on all cylinders. Their implied point total is at 20.75, so nothing crazy. I am a long-term believer in this Jags offense, but here in week 7, I'm not super scared that they're going to burn me. And then I do just have an overall level of confidence with this Rams defense. And then the 4th and final tier, like I mentioned, I've been moving this tier around a lot. There are certain defenses I left off that I certainly think you could make a case to be in the top 12. I'm going to go with the Panthers going up against the Jets. And as you can probably tell, this is not really a bet on the Panthers defense. It's more so a bet against the Jets offense. They are coming off just an awful performance. Justin Fields, same number of completions as sacks. Now Garrett Wilson, it looks like he is not going to be healthy in this game. They have an implied point total of 21, which typically is pretty low for them. It's actually not that bad of a number. And then defenses going up against them are top 6 in points per game. I'll also point out that with Garrett Wilson out, I mean, the weapons are just terrible. Like at wide receiver, tight end, their best weapon is probably Mason Taylor, which means you're in a rough spot. And the Panthers defense has actually looked pretty good at stopping the run. Javonte Williams last week, Devon Achane the week before. I think Achane had like 10 carries for 16 yards. Javonte, I think he was at like 13 for 29. So that's a plus here, right? Like if they can kind of shut down Breece Hall, there's not a ton left here for the Jets. So that's why I have the Panthers leading this tier. Then I have another kind of sketchy defense, but with a decent matchup, the Bears going up against the Saints. The Bears defense has not been great, but they have been pretty opportunistic. They force turnovers. We saw the Commanders turn the ball over 3 times on Monday Night Football. The Bears are second in the NFL in interceptions, and that's with them having the bye in week 5. And the defense is 12th in points per game. So from a fantasy perspective, they haven't been all that bad. Saints at a pretty low 20.5 implied points. And the Saints offense has definitely been better than expected, but it's not a unit that scares me that's going to like go out and just completely burn you if you do start the Bears. Then I have the Eagles going up against the Vikings, and it's tough to trust this Eagles defense. I will say like them being ranked here could definitely depend on the health status of Quinyon Mitchell. If he's not playing, I feel a lot worse about this defense. They had Zadarius Smith just like straight up retire this week, someone who had been like pretty productive for them. But defenses going up against the Vikings have fared pretty well, 5th in points per game against them. The O-line has been banged up. Who knows what's going on at the quarterback position? I still think the Eagles are fine as like a back-end defense one option. Then I have the Texans going up against the Seahawks. Kind of an interesting matchup here because the Seahawks offense has looked pretty good. Defenses like going up against them have not fared well at all, but this Texans defense has looked really good. They are 6th in fantasy points per game. From a real life perspective, they are only allowing 12.2 points per game. That is an insanely low number, and that's with them not even really hitting big time in like sacks or the turnover department. So they've just been very tough to score against. Like I said, the Seahawks offense has looked pretty good, but I think the Texans are fine once you're getting into like this back end defense one range. And then a defense that I really kind of fluctuated my ranking with. I'm going to end my top 12 with the Browns going up against the Dolphins. Now, I think the Browns defense is pretty good, but they just have not been super productive for fantasy, where they are 27th in points per game. And then I think you look at this Dolphins offense and you're like, not a great unit. Tua's not super reliable. Tyreek Hill out for the season. Vegas isn't super high on them. Their implied point total is tied for the 5th lowest. But then you look at how Miami's actually been producing. Like they've scored at least 20 points in each of their last 5 games. In back-to-back games, they've put up 27 and 24 points. So the offense has been fine. We'll see if the Browns can kind of have a bounce back here, but that is why I rank them a little bit lower than maybe people would expect. I also considered the Vikings here going up against the Eagles. Very good fantasy defense. It does just kind of sketch me out playing a defense against the Eagles, even with their struggles. Like it still hasn't been a smash spot. So that's going to wrap it up for my top 12. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed, do me a huge favor, hit that like button and subscribe, but I will see you all in the next one.